Hello students, this is Shweta Roy. This video is for chapter 5 History, part 3 Architecture in the Medieval Period. In this video, we are going to discuss the case study of Shah Jahan's patronage to architecture. Then we have some topics: engineering and construction skills, Trabeated style of architecture, kings and the places of worship, destruction of temples. Then we have a case study of Europe colored glass in the Middle Ages. So these are some of the topics which we are going to discuss in this video. So here we will discuss about Shah Jahan's patronage to architecture. Here we have the case study. Now Shah Jahan's period was called Golden Age of Mughal architecture. It is called so because he has contributed a lot in the field of architecture. Okay. Actually, he is remembered for his architectural achievements. So, he has done a lot of work in the field of architecture, and that is why his period is called Golden Age of Mughal architecture. So, what all things he has done, we will go through that. He built the Taj Mahal at Agra, Musamman Burj at Agra Fort, Shahjahanabad, Red Fort, Jama Masjid at Delhi, and Jahangir's tomb at Lahore. So he has done a lot of architectural work. Now the audience hall of Shah Jahan was constructed like a mosque. Okay. The audience hall where audience used to gather, that area was constructed like a mosque. And the pedestal where the throne was placed, that was called Qibla. Okay. And it is the direction faced by Muslims at prayer. Qibla is actually the direction when the Muslims are doing prayer, they are facing towards a certain direction. Okay, that is called Qibla. And his throne was placed in the same direction. Like if audience are sitting, they are sitting in the position of Qibla. Okay. Through this architectural feature, what conclusion comes out? So the idea behind this is king is the representative of God. King is the representative of God. So this is the idea behind this, and they are doing prayer in certain position. In the same position they are sitting in front of king also. Okay. And the audience hall is also constructed like a mosque. So the idea is king is the representative of God. Okay. Now Shah Jahan built the largest Muslim sanctuary in India. And that largest Muslim sanctuary is Jama Masjid at Delhi. That is the largest Muslim sanctuary in India. And it was constructed in 17th century AD. And it is excellent example of an Indian mosque. Now Aurangzeb has built the Pearl Mosque inside the Red Fort complex. Now behind the emperor's throne, which is there at the Red Fort complex, in the Red Fort complex, behind the throne of the emperor, there was a series of inlays, and that depicted the legendary Greek god Orpheus playing the flute. And there was a belief behind that. That belief is that Orpheus music could calm even ferocious beast, and because of this, the that is depicted behind that emperor's throne. Okay. Now the craftsman used a special skill that is called pietra dura, and this pietra dura was inlaying precious and semi-precious stones in white marble. Okay, they used to uh, inlay the precious and semi-precious stones in white marble, and that skill is called pietra dura. Okay. Now marble was the favorite building material for Shah Jahan. So what if most of his construction was in marbles. If you see the other Mughal buildings of 16th and 17th century era, the materials used were glazed tile, white marble, sandstone, wood joinery, mosaics, stucco carving and gemstones. So these are all materials which were used that time. Now Shah Jahan was interested in these materials and structures because he wanted to communicate that how the king displays justice irrespective of one being high or low. All were equal before the emperor and all coexisted together and lived in harmony. To show this, to communicate this, he used several kind of materials in his architecture. Okay. Now recently a garden complex which is called Mehtab Bagh or Moonlight Garden has been discovered, that is on the other side of Yamuna, and this garden complex belonged to nobility, and this is also constructed at the time of Shah Jahan. Now similar homes were constructed on the banks of river Yamuna at Agra and Shah Jahan's capital, and these homes were set in the midst of Chaharbagh garden format. Okay, we also already discussed about the Chaharbagh garden format. You have seen the Chaharbagh in the picture in the previous video, and in the same way they are constructed. And historians call these gardens riverfront garden. The dwelling which is there, that is not located in the middle of the garden complex, but it is located in the edge, which is close to the bank of river. There the building complex is there. Dwelling is located. And the Red Fort complex, which is at Delhi, that is also on the bank of river Yamuna. And Taj Mahal is also set on the river bank of Yamuna. And Taj Mahal is having 8-fold garden. It has reflecting pool and fountains in the front of the Taj Mahal, if you see. And it is white marble mausoleum. It was built in the remembrance of Shah Jahan's beloved wife Mumtaz Mahal, and it took around 22 years to build this monument. It is having a great beauty, and it is representative of world civilization and tolerance. Shah Jahan actually developed this architectural form as the means to control the access that nobles had to the river. Okay. Also, Shah Jahan has placed peacock throne in Diwane-am of the Red Fort at Delhi. So, and Kohinoor, which is famous diamond, that was also placed in the throne, and now this diamond is preserved in the museum which is in London, and it was plundered from Lahore by Nadir Shah when he raided in 18th century AD. Nadir Shah actually raided India in 18th century AD, and he took away that diamond. Now the city which is built near Delhi, that is called Shahjahanabad, and it was the new capital. Also it commanded the riverfront view. It was having the riverfront view, and Shah Jahan gave access to river only to specially favored nobles like his eldest son Dara Sikho. So very few people were having the access to the river, and other nobles were required to construct their home away from the Yamuna front. So they were not allowed to build their homes near to the river. Okay. The mausoleum, mosques and fortress places built by him, they all are standing proof of his building style. Also Shah Jahan has built double dome, recessed archways and rectangular front in some of his monuments, and there can be seen perfect balance between all parts of monument of his time. If you see the palace fortress, the Red Fort at Delhi or the Taj Mahal at Agra, you will see a perfect balance of the buildings. Now we have the topic engineering and construction skills. So during the early medieval period, a large room with elaborate superstructure began to build. Superstructure means the part of building which is above the ground floor. Okay, that is superstructure. Then we will discuss about trapeted style of architecture using beams in the architectural construction. So from 7th to 10th century AD, a building used to consist many rooms, doors and windows, and roofs, doors and windows that were made by placing a horizontal beam across two vertical columns. Okay, and this is called trapeted or corbelled style of architecture. Now between 8th to 13th century AD, this was used in construction of temples, mosques, tombs and buildings which is attached to large stepped wells. And from 12th century AD onwards, the two technology which were used are arcuate, which is curved style of structure. In this structure, uh, in this kind of architectural form, the weight of the superstructure, which was above the doors and windows, was carried by arcs. Okay, arcs were made to carry the weight of the superstructure which is above the window or door. Okay, second is use of limestone cement. So limestone cement was the use of limestone cement was increased in the structure, and it was mixed with very high quality cement, and when it was mixed with stone chips, it became very hard in form of concrete. It was becoming very hard, and in result the construction of large structures became easier and faster. Okay, now kings and the places of worship. The kings built many temples and mosques, right? And they build it very beautifully so that they can show their power, wealth, and devotion. If you see, the generally names of the king and the god, they were very similar. Like if you take the example Raja Deva, okay, and he used to worship the god Raja Rajeshwaram. So if you see, there is similarity, Raja Deva and Raja Rajeshwaram. There is similarity in the names. Okay, and this was because the king wanted to appear like a god, and that is why this kind of similarity was there. Okay, he actually wanted to show that he was the real representative of God on the earth, and he is ruling on behalf of God. Okay, so he emphasized his moral right to be a ruler, and because of this, uh, you can see the similarity in the names also. Now the kings used to construct large temples, and that was in the honor of their chief deity. Okay, the chief deity, in the chief deity's honor, they used to construct large temples, and the other who are less important deities, uh, that their temples were built by the allies or subordinates. Okay, the king used to build the construction for chief deities, and the less important were built by the allies or subordinate. And the Muslim sultans, they were considered as the shadow of God. There is an inscription in the Quwwat-il-Islam mosque. The God chose Alauddin as a king because he had the qualities of Moses and Solomon, the great lawgiver of the past. Okay, it further mentions that the greatest lawgiver and architect is the God himself, and he created the world and introduced order and symmetry. So like this, for Alauddin, there is some of the lines written in the mosque. Now people used to believe that rule of just a king would bring plenty of rain and crops. Now making water available by constructing tanks, reservoirs, that kind of thing was highly praised If kings are doing this kind of thing, the people used to praise. So rulers, what they often doing, they were constructing temple, mosque or gurudwara. Like if you see, there is an example, Sultan Shamsuddin Iltutmish. He earned a great respect for large reservoirs. He has built large reservoirs, Hoje Sultani or King's reservoirs, and because of that he has got a lot of respect. Now our other next topic is destruction of temples. Why were temples destroyed that time? Actually, temples used to demonstrate king's power, wealth and devotion to the god, right? And invaders, they actually targeted these buildings to destroy. For example, if you see Pandyan king Srimara Srivallabha defeated the Sri Lankan king Senavon and brought with him all the valuables, the golden statue of Buddha and the other golden image and the various monasteries. So as king used to see these, they were making these places, they were constructing these places to show their devotion, right, power. And invaders, when they were attacking, they were destroying these buildings, temples or mosques, so that it was a kind of thing that they are actually destroying the king's power. Okay. Also the kings destroyed temples in revenge. For revenge also they used to destroy, because if you remember, they are showing their power by constructing these buildings, right? So destroying these buildings is actually they were doing in revenge, to take revenge. For example, if you see, next Sinhalese ruler Sena II invaded Madurai, the capital of Pandyas, and he made special effort to find and restore the gold statue of Buddha. Also, the kings felt great honor to establish prized statues seized from the defeated rulers. For example, there is the Chola king Rajendra I built a Shiva temple in his capital, and the temple consisted of sun pedestal from the Chalukyas, the image of Bhairava and Bhairavi from the Kalingas, and a Kali statue from the Palas. So like this, that temple was having different statues from different dynasties. Also, the rulers used to display their political and military power or success by attracting and looting the places of worship, okay, of defeated rulers. For example, if you see the Sultan Muhammad of Ghazni, he destroyed the temples, he looted the wealth and destroyed idols. And by destroying the famous Somnath temple, he tried to be a great hero of Islam. So these were some of the reasons of that time to destroy the temples. Now we have a case study of Europe, colored glass in the Middle Ages. So in 12th and 13th century AD, Europe, the art and architecture flourished under the patronage of Catholic Church. There were new buildings, building techniques and materials during this age. If you see in France, the architect made room for large stained and colored glass windows. Now, if you see the colored lights that streamed into the cathedral, that created a breathtaking space. They used to put colored glass, and from that, when the light was coming, it was a breathtaking movement. Okay. Also, the scenes from the Bibles were painted. The architectural style was having high pointed arcs. The use of stained glass was there, flying buttresses, tall spires, bell towers, all these were there in the architectural style. And from a distant place, you can see all this. Also, the symbolic figures were used. Sometimes the seasons, months, and the zodiac symbols were also shown in the cathedral windows. Now, one of the best example of this architectural style is the Church of Notre Dame, which is in Paris, and this was built in the medieval period. Now, if you see, the bell towers of the cathedral can be reached by 422 steps, and from top of this building you can see a stunning view of Paris. I hope you all understood all the topics taught in this video. Thank you.